Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Wilson Waffling Live, episode 78, recorded on Monday, the 14th of November. It only remains for me to say, run titles. Hello everyone. Hello. You're listening to Wilson Waffling Live, yeah? Episode 78. How exciting is that? We've gone to 78 episodes of this. We had a bit of a break over summer, but we're back onto it. We're back onto it now. Just moving my microphone a bit. And we're going to carry on. I'm determined to get to that 100. So what is Wilson Waffling Live? Well, it's just about half an hour or so of me talking about educational issues. And you can join in the chat if you wish. So I'm currently live on Periscope. So by all means, go along to Periscope and add your comments there. If you can log into the chat, or just press the button that gives me. I'm just rearranging my Periscope live bit. I think you can actually press it and give me a little love heart, And I'm also currently live on Facebook as well, on the Wilson Waffling radio page. So very exciting day. It's reading week at university this week. First years are out on placement, bless them. So they'll be working hard. So hopefully some of them have tuned in just to catch tonight's show. And of course, tomorrow is a big day for a lot of YSJ graduates, because it is the first day of the graduation service at York Minster. Yes, because we're from YSJ, we actually graduate in York Minster. So I will be putting on my suit and gown and mortarboard tomorrow to graduate. Once again, I get to graduate every single year, which is always a fun thing to do. So, what are we going to have on tonight's show? Well, we're going to have pretty shortly the tweets of the week, when we have a look at some of the tweets that have frequented my the hashtag YSJ Prime Ed, and we're going to also have the website roundup, when we look at some news that is currently across the internet to do with education, and I'll talk about it and also give you my personal views about it. And finally, a new feature for tonight. I'm going to give you a little bit of a soda, which is what's known as a start of day activity, because currently we have a super moon. Now, before we go any further, I'm just moving. Oh no, I'll keep you here. I have two screens here. And I like to move you between, but I'm going to keep you, because we're going to start off with the wonderful tweet of the week. So, what happens in the tweet of the week? Well, this is when I share with you some of the tweets that have been posted on our hashtag YSJ Prime Ed throughout the week. Now, if you would like to, of course, follow us at any time, then you can follow us down there. You can see my Twitter is at iWilsonYSJ, and you can follow the hashtag of YSJ Prime Ed to see exactly what's going on. So let's get straight into it. So last week we were talking about science and maths, and here's some more maths. And you can see here that we've got Nicole here providing us with with a wonderful insight into some mathematics, and they're doing some George's Marvelous Medicine here, and it's a student-led session within mathematics to do with volume and capacity, and you won't be able to read all those labels, but there was definitely something about slug slime going on there. I wasn't too sure, so that's absolutely fantastic. So a bit of mathematics. I always like to have a bit of maths in there. And also the science continues. The science continues to happen, and you can see here that the displays are going up, and the students in the second year science actually put up a display, and then we give them some feedback. And students have always asked if they could have an overall grade for it, So you can see here that we have provided that for them, and Alison's really pleased here that she has managed to get her and her team have got good and outstanding about classifications of animals, and the students have their own. They can do it with whatever misconception they want. So here the misconception is, are all the planets the same size? And we've got some wonderful paper mache planets there from Emma and Ella and Hannah there, and there was even a space helmet, and if anybody was following the hashtag, it said put me on and go out into space, and of course I saw it, and yep, I put it on and went out into space. Now, as well as maths and science, we've had a whole lot of students doing DT, and they've obviously been doing some pop-up cards, creating pop-up cards in design technology. Here's Maddie with her Disney princess. It looks a bit like the mermaid, I think, the Little Mermaid. But we've also got a Madeleine here who finished her pop-up card, and this is definitely of the White Rabbit from Alice in Wonderland. And I can also see that there's a fantastic MacBook there as well, which is always a good thing to have when you're out and about and within education. Now, as well as maths and science and DT, we've had some students out and about on their history trail. I featured an image of this last week as well, but you can see Beth's here, and she's been out and about collecting information about York, and you can see right in the middle there's Gilligate. And Gilligate is how you pronounced it, although a lot of people, Gilligate is how students pronounce it. But of course, if you live in York, then you know it's pronounced Gilligate. Yes, and I might actually be walking down Gilligate tomorrow in a rather stylish robe. And we also have some languages going on. Here's Georgina having fun language seminars there. And she's obviously been doing a bit of French, because I can see the French words for pommes, apples there, and strawberries as well. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm not a language expert, you'll be pleased to know. And also I think it's appropriate for me to put a bit of me in here. Here's me using a wonderful Snapchat filter, and this was because on Saturday we had our open day. And welcome to Open Day. Come and have a chat if you're interested in becoming a teacher. There I am with my rose tinted spectacles on. Open Day, fantastic. Yes, it was a wonderful open day. And while we're at the open day, as well as celebrating our programs, etc., we also on our Twitter feed, we also promoted our blog. And here we have a blog post by Dan, who's currently out in Norway, and thinking about going abroad. Here's a blog post by Dan, who is currently in Norway. And the biggest question on everybody's lips was, is that him sat on that rock? That is the biggest question, and I'm just hoping that somebody will be able to tell me whether or not it is him or not, because I think it probably is him. But I'm not too sure. We'll have to wait and see. And finally, I just want to give a really good shout out, because I would just like to say that I went on Saturday night. I spent all day on Saturday at open day. Then I did a bit of streaming online with my online game that I play on Twitch. And then I went straight back to the MPS production of a musical medley on the evening. And I can safely say it was absolutely fantastic. It was absolutely brilliant, and I loved singing along to many of the songs, especially songs from Cabaret, which I really love, and also Little Shop of Horrors. So I really loved that. And of course, I actually have a radio show that I do a show on a Friday night actually called The Musical Show, which is all about musicals. So by all means, tune into that if you like that sort of thing. That goes live on a Friday night at 8 o'clock on Wilson Waffling Radio. Now, if you are interested in following us on Twitter, then by all means go along to, it's down there, hashtag YSJPrimeEd, and you can see all the information there. Or if you prefer, you can follow me at iWilsonYSJ, and no doubt there'll be plenty of pictures of graduation coming up pretty soon tomorrow. So let's now, I'm now going to have to do a bit of moving around. I'm going to have to put you over there for a time being and bring this over here. And just double click that, because we are going to have a bit of the website roundup. Oh, I was a bit slow there, wasn't I? Did you think I wasn't coming back? I certainly thought I wasn't coming back, I tell you. Yes, the website roundups. So this is when I have a look at some of the educational stories that have been in the news the last week and put my own personal view about it, as well as giving you some insight and allowing you to see what's going on. So let's just change to this view. There we go. That's perfect. So first things first, let's talk about primary testing, because we all know that we've had the testing agency has had quite a rough year this year. And the primary test agency, as this title suggests, this headline suggests, was poor value, says the minister. And here we have some children, I was going to say parading, but they're not parading at all, aren't they? They're protesting outside the Department of Education. And just down here, it says the government agency that sets primary school tests in England has been poor value for money and lacking in customer focus, says Minister for Standards of Schools. Now, you might be thinking, why? Why is this? Well, I don't know if you remember, but last year they had to cancel certain tests because questions were published on the internet, and although they were sort of like meant to be real practice questions, they were actually the real ones. And teachers unions said that it was chaotic, and the ministers have ordered an urgent review. And hopefully, well, do you want to know what I'm hoping? What I'm hoping is that they actually disband it and we get rid of the testing altogether. But I think you might have your own opinions on it. And I suppose I can't really sort of like push my opinion too much. But there was a lot of difficulties with them, and I'm still not 100% sure that any form of summative testing is actually beneficial for the children. But more. Sorry, that was something. something about somebody just tweeted and it alerted my phone about graduation tomorrow. Yeah. So yes, I don't think a summative assessment is actually beneficial, and actually I think it's more about accountability rather than impacting on children's learning, which I think what formative assessment actually does. So that might be something that you want to check out if you're doing anything about assessment, whether or not it be assignments or just writing about things or preparing for interview. Talking about preparing for interviews, you might have read in the past about the government wanting to reinstate or promote grammar schools yet again, and grammar school expansion plans based on flimsy evidence. Okay. So the government's plans for new grammar schools in England are based on flimsy evidence, a former Labour shadow education minister has said. A particularly backwards looking in approach, she goes on. Now, it was announced in September the proposals to allow new grammar schools have prompted strong criticism from politicians and the teaching professions. Now, I have a bit of a confession to make. Okay, so I do apologise for this because I actually went to a grammar school. I went to an all-boys grammar school in the time of the 11 plus. Now, I'm not too sure whether or not it had an impact, either positive. I hated secondary school with a passion. I really did detest it, but I don't think it was because it was a grammar school. I think I wasn't really into school like that. And to be honest with you, I wanted to play things like Dungeons and Dragons a lot more. And it's only when I came out of grammar school and actually got onto my degree, luckily, that I actually started to enjoy learning a lot more. So I think it doesn't really matter. Me personally, these are my personal opinions and do not represent any opinions of the institute where I work or anybody else. I actually think, it doesn't really matter. I think it's all to do with the teaching staff and the learning environment. And I don't think it's the case that we should have elitist schools, for children who are doing very well at 11, because, some children might develop at 12 or 13 or 14, and I think the important thing is that their education is supported whenever and wherever they are, rather than just in a grammar school, so to speak. One group of people who I think do always deserve more money are people, the teacher assistants. And the teacher assistants pay strike sees County Durham schools close. And you can see this headline from the BBC .co.uk newspaper on the 8th of November here. So more than 100 schools either closed or cutting classes as a 48-hour strike by teaching assistants in County Durham gets underway. The support staff are protesting against the County Council's proposal to only pay them during term time. Now, I think, and I'm going to stand up for teaching assistants here, because I think they do an absolutely fantastic job. I think they give more. They give so much more than their normal working hours. They're always prepared to do so many jobs and such a range of jobs. And whatever they do, they actually engage with them 100% and do really, really well at them. So I think teacher assistants should be paid right the way through the term, because a lot of the time they're working weekends or on the evenings and they never ask for any more, and they give 100%, and they really, really support children's learning. So I'm afraid I agree with the teaching assistants. They should actually get paid term time as well. And I know this might put financial strain on schools' budgets, but government just pay for them. Give them more. Give them more. Now then, on this, talking about giving more, or in this case, giving less, because this story states that Scottish primary schools stops setting homework. No more homework. Now, it's interesting. I was reading this, And the decision was taken at Highland Council Primary in Fort William after the children and their parents voted to scrap homework. Now, about 80% of pupils and more than 60% of the parents voted in favour of an end of homework. Okay, so no homework. But it's interesting, the next bit, and I don't know if not you can see it on the screen, but I'll just highlight it here. It says, instead of homework, the children will be encouraged to read books and comics that interest them and to play. Now, I really, play as much as you want. Yeah, read comments, but I think that should be saying do whatever they enjoy doing. Do whatever they enjoy doing. I think it's a really valid step, this, and it's really brave. But I think it's definitely the way forward. I think homework, is one of the major causes of anxiety and disruption in schools and at home because of homework. And I think sometimes it's not set very effectively and it causes problems, and that children should, really and truly, they start at 9 o'clock and they go right the way through to 3 o'clock. Let them have a break. Go home, go to clubs, go outside, talk to parents, watch telly. Watch Planet Earth 2, fantastic program. Get engaged with the culture and social media and everything like that, and then just enjoy yourselves. Have a good night's sleep, and then come back to learn the next day. So maybe we will be taking the lead from Scottish primary schools, and in the future, maybe we will be stopping homework too in England and Wales and Ireland even. And finally, I always like to finish on a lighter note, or in this case, a spooky note. And this article from The Guardian is quite ingenious because it actually says how to teach about UFOs. How fantastic is that? How to teach about UFOs. And it gives some really good ideas for primary school here. A good place to start is with words pupils will need to use when talking about space and interplanetary exploration. This clear, colourful word map uses images and text to help children spell keywords such as telescope, scientist and astronaut. And I'll just show it. It's just here, look. I just need to download it. Oh, I need to register. I can't download it live, so I'm not logged in, and I'm not logging in. But it also goes on to Aliens Love Underpants, a popular book, and matching cards. So I think it's really nice, really, really nice that you can, if that's my brother started to play something like, we need to sort that out for the future. I think it's really nice that they can have the opportunity to teach about UFOs, which is absolutely fantastic. And that, people, is the end of the website roundup. Oh, I'm back again. Now then, I just wanted to finish off today's show because I don't want this to sort of like last forever, because I know you're probably bored now of a bit of education, so I want to last about half an hour. And I just wanted to finish off today's Wilson Waffling Live by talking about some sodas. Now, sodas stand for start of day activity, and it's something that can occupy the children when they first arrive at school, or can promote thinking skills later on. And if you popped out last night or tonight, then you might be able to see the supermoon. And this is when the moon is actually, because the moon actually has an elliptical orbit around us, sometimes it's actually a little bit closer, and it'll be about 14% bigger and about 30% brighter. So I thought, can we do some sodas, some activities around the supermoon? Like, come on, supermoon. There it is. Now then, I'm a scientist, so what I wanted to avoid was to actually be talking about the supermoon and being provided with shall we say misconceptions? You know, I didn't want the children to talk about the man in the moon or anything like that. So I've got some questions for you that you could ask the children. What would it be like living on the moon? What would it be like living on the moon? That would be a really interesting question to start off with the children. You know, what would it be like living on the moon? And also, what would be different on the moon? What would actually be different on the moon? So, for example, you know, would they miss things living on the moon, like plants and animals and weather and things like that, which think it'd be really interesting. What would it be like living facing away from the Earth? So remember, we only ever see one side of the moon because it's locked in that orbit. So as it turns round on its own axis, the same face of the moon always points at us. Now, it's a misconception that there's a dark side because that side of the moon often is facing the sun, but it's just that we don't see it when it's facing the sun. So don't sort of like start telling the children about the dark side and things like that. But what would it be like actually facing the opposite way? So instead of looking down at Earth, always being facing away either at the sun or out into space. And what could possibly happen on Earth during the supermoon time? You know, will weird things happen? You know, and that gives the children the opportunity to exercise their creativity and sort of like think beyond and imagine new things. So those are just some questions that you could use if you wanted to talk about the supermoon in the forthcoming week as a starter day activity. So we are going to come to the end of Wilson Waffling. You'll be pleased to know, or not pleased to know. Thank you to everybody who's been watching on Periscope and on Facebook. I hope you've really enjoyed tonight's educational roundup. Last week I recorded it to put on YouTube and then made a mess of the editing, and it all went downhill from then onwards. So I didn't keep your last week's recording, but this week's will be up on YouTube as well as live on Facebook. So please go back and watch episode 77 as well as 78. And I hope this has been helpful and giving you an insight into some of the educational news and some ideas for the classroom, and also what we're doing here at YSJ. So guys, it only remains for me to say in my normal way, have fun guys, and I'll catch you all later. And until then, consider yourself waffled. See you later.